Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wicked Art. It is Wicked here, and on this Digital Wednesday, I'm sorry I had to do a time-lapse version of this, but this took me several hours to do, and I figured nobody's going to sit down and watch a 3-hour video, if not more or longer. But essentially, I'm just going to talk through my process of how I inked and colored this sketch. This is not my artwork. I want to stress that. This is from the great Joe Madureira, or Joe Mad, as most people call him. He's probably one of my top favorite comic book artists of all time, and I just wanted to kind of discuss the process of what happens after the artist, um, you know, draws the image. Um, so basically, I just took his sketch, his original Bristol board sketch of Wolverine fighting the ninjas from the hand. Um, so the first step that I did was I just brought it in and I lowered the opacity down to roughly about 50%, and I created a new layer on top, set it to multiply, and just labeled it ink. Okay, now you want to take, if you can download or find a brush where you can go by pressure sensitivity so that you can get some different line weights, but you're just going to pick a black and just start going over the artist's sketch itself. So this is more for those who are just interested in the inking and coloring side. This would be your job. You'd either be the inker or you'd be the colorer, or maybe sometimes both if you're good at both. But you're just going to go over all those areas. Now you kind of have to pick and choose what's important to stand out, like these really big, thick black areas. You can just color in that color, unless you're given instructions otherwise as to, you know, hey, we really, even though it's shaded that way, it's just more of a brighter scene and darker color. But I'm just going with that more traditional, almost DC style, and Marvel does it too. But just especially during that Jim Lee era, and I'm just going around and filling in all the heavy darks. But you want to see if you can download a pressure sensitive like inking brush, because I just used the basic brush on this one, just a basic round brush. But I really had to make sure that I changed the line weights by shrinking the brush size, making it bigger at certain points and where it was rounding. But I'm just going through and just kind of filling everything in. A couple other things to watch out for is when you use the paint brush or the paint bucket brush, which was something I used for the larger areas. I would just outline it and fill it in. The problem is it doesn't fill it in all the way to the edge. So you want to make sure you kind of go back over that area on the outer edge so it doesn't just have this kind of faint white outline to it. But for the most part, you can see I'm just keeping everything inside the panel. And when it comes to comic books, there's a bleed area, print area, things like that that just are going to get cut off in the printing process. So I'm just keeping it within the confines of that. So I just kind of traced around the panel itself that he had laid out and just went in and just started using black to just kind of really get the line. Like I said, key things is just as you want to pick up as much detail as possible, right? So if you notice, I hadn't done, even though I had like completed Wolverine, I hadn't done any of the hair on his arms yet because it's not the same size, brush size. And to prevent me ever having to keep switching back and forth while doing it, I just saved the hair for last. But like some of these chains in the background, how I just made them complete black silhouette because they're not really important to the scene. But a lot of the hatching, cross hatching, you want to pick all that stuff up, and then I come back and get that hair later, as you can see right now. I just made a smaller brush size and just literally tried to copy verbatim. Do you have to hit every single one? No, you don't. And especially if you're just practicing, and that's what this is for, is if you just want to practice. So I wanted to get in there, make a new layer, put that underneath this one, and just call it base color. So in the original comic itself, the hand ninjas he's fighting, they're all red. Like it was just straight red all the way through. And I wanted to change some stuff like how I would do it. So to make some contrasting colors or just make it stand out a little bit more, especially on the ninjas, so it didn't blend in so much. I'd use their midsections and their hand wraps and arm wraps. I actually went and changed those different colors. They're supposed to be red, but I just went in and decided to go with a black. Just again, just to have some more variation instead of just everything being a blood red in there. I wanted it to change up and have some difference to it. Um, and then once I got done with the red and black um, on the ninjas, I decided to go in and go ahead and paint like the sword handle stuff, which is supposed to be silver, but I decided to go with gold. Again, I wanted some more contrasting things. I just used like a light silver color for the chains. I did like a little bit darker than the ones I did on the sword, just so they would stand out against each other. And again, I was just making choices based off of what I wanted the viewer, the eye of the viewer to focus on, things like that. And then I just used a basic skin tone, kind of went for like a peach, but then darkened it a little, just so it's not just that pale peach color. I just kind of went through and gave everybody the same skin tone in the image. Once I was done with that, I was thinking about going against the original with the brown and gold, and was going to do the blue and yellow, but I thought that's going to pop a little bit too much. So I decided to just stick with the original design of the OG uh, brown and gold from back in the day, but what she's wearing in this comic. And you can see I put brown in here. It's supposed to be gold, and I go back and I change that later. I don't think I was really paying attention at that point. Um, but yeah, once I got that gold color, put those in the places where it needed to be. And again, just your focus is just getting baseline colors. Nothing fancy, no shading yet, any of that. Just making sure you go in and fill it in nice and solid. Even for the belt here, I did more of a red brown just so it would stand out again. Getting the silver in there on the claws, just that light silver color that I had for the swords. Okay, and then I didn't realize that, oh yeah, that's all blood that's supposed to be in the air. A solid black color. Now you could keep it the same, you could. But I decided to go in and erase back out those areas just because um, I really wanted to show that it was a violent scene. Um, it's not meant to just be guessed at. They really wanted to showcase what was going on. So I went in and got more of like a dark maroon, brownish red kind of blood tone to it, and just went in and just kind of filled out the rest of the image. Um, and then from there, I went in and filled the entire background with a gradient. It's kind of like a red to gold. I really was kind of going just again to give some contrast so it wasn't just so flat in the image. Um, and then I went in and created a new layer above the base color layer and just called that shadow. Okay, I set that to 50%. Got an airbrush. Now, if you don't have an airbrush in Photoshop or whatever you're using, program you're using, you can download some for free. I mean, they have them all over the place. And I just set that to 50% and just chose black. And what that does is it allows to blend in to make it seem like it's a darker red when actually it's just the black, just not put as heavily on there. So I just went in and kind of pick a light source. I was trying to not copy the original comic strip. I was trying to go for like again how I would do it. If I was looking at it, what would I do to the image? Um, so that's why I chose to put the shadows in the places that I wanted to put the shadows in. Um, again, just completely my choice on that part. Again, just what would I do if this was my comic that somebody had asked me to paint. Now, obviously, if you're working for somebody, you're gonna take orders from the top. If they tell you to, do it a certain way, then that's the way you're gonna just have to do it. But I just kind of just chose a light source, mainly coming from the top left area, which helped guide me the rest of the way of putting everything in. Um, and I just made sure that I hit up every area that I could. A lot of it didn't need to be huge chunks, but most of it, you don't have to like go in and super do it like you would be shading with a pencil or anything. You can just easily just go in there and fill in the spots that need to be filled in, and kind of think about like if this person's head laying over the top, how much is that getting covered? What kind of shadows are going to be based on that? And hitting up different parts of the mouth and the teeth, just knowing that those two would get some form of reflection, you know, thinking about how edges are rounded by the shadows, things like that. And then I wanted to, even though it's tedious, I still wanted to give more life to the chains. So I really went through and just kind of, shaded the edges that are facing away from the chains, to really just kind of help bring it, make it pop a little bit more. Um, and it helps sell the overall, picture, and then just hitting up different spots on the swords and the blades, to really just make sure that they, again, just give shape and form to a otherwise flat image. So after that, what I'm going to do is, you'll see I create a new layer. I just call it light. I do the same process. I do kind of like a white color, set it to 50%, and now I'm just hitting up the edges. I think in the original image, there's a lot more like spotlighting, where it's a wider, broader area, but I just thought a more subtle edge tone with it would go best. Uh, but yeah, that's really the process. Just go through and hit up the highlights, and that pretty much takes care of that. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment. Let me know if I did a good job recreating this image. If you like what you saw, like, share, subscribe. Leave me a comment about anything else you want to see in that image. Other than that, that's going to do it for today's Digital Wednesday of redrawing Joe Mad's artwork. I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you appreciate, by leaving me a comment and letting me know what to think. Until next time, keep on sketching, and I'll see you in the next one. All right? Bye.